Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
And Tane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Kia ora koutou, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Baskets of Knowledge. And today it's just me. He just messaged me to say he's still at rugby league training, so we won't have him today. It's just me and our guest will introduce in a bit. And as always, we share what we put into our basket of knowledge over the last week. And my biggest learning was actually from a book that I'm reading. I've read many, many times. It's from Naval Ravikant. I'm just going to read it out because it's really beautiful. It says, it's basically the title is Run Uphill. If you're ever split on a decision on a if you ever split on a difficult decision, take the path more painful in the short term. When I read that, I was like, oh, this is really interesting because what do we do as humans? We always take the easiest path. But as we know, the whatever short-term pain, long-term gain. And it's the people that run uphill are the ones that become successful later on, whatever they do. And this is the premise of today's podcast as well, because when I introduce our guests, you'll see our guests have to run uphill to get to where they are today. And running uphill is always the hardest decision to make at that point in time because all your friends or your peers are going the other way, either downhill or across the other way. So when you're sitting here thinking about those two choices, even if it's a one-day uphill, give it a crack. The worst that can happen is you turn around and come back downhill. But I promise you'll be a changed person. But that's enough from me today. As always, we scour the country and the world to find people that we think we're interesting. We know everyone's interesting and everyone's got a story to tell. And today, I'm really privileged and honored and really, really humbled to introduce our guest. This is a person I met a few months ago. I went to a training camp to do some speaking stuff, and I walked into this room here, and there was this gentleman here, and he had this amazing persona and this lovely smile. And I was like, oh, what a nice guy. And over the next 3 days, I got to know him as a person. And his story is so, so beautiful. And not just his story, but also what he's doing in the world and how he's come. And it's someone like that I was like, oh, this is a fantastic person to bring on. Because as I listened to their story, I was inspired by running uphill and also inspired by, sometimes we hide behind our insecurities and we tell the world what we want the world to hear. When actually we tell the world our true story, our life changes. But enough about me. Let's give a warm basket of knowledge to Pat Wulf. Kia ora, Pat, and welcome to Basket of Knowledge.
Kia ora, Patish. Quite humbled by that introduction, mate. But thank you. Really, we've been meaning to do this podcast for a while, so I've been wanting to tell my story, as you said. But thank you for the opportunity. You're doing great things, and much respect to you, brother, and thank you for having me on this great show.
No worries. No worries at all. Everything happens at the right reason, and I believe this is the right time for us to share your story. But Pat, I know who you are. If someone is listening for the first time and they have no idea who Pat is, who is Pat today on the 25th of September 2025? Who is Pat today?
Yep, so my name is Sokmi Patrick Wulf. I'm the proud founder and owner of Wulf Security Services Limited. We're a family-owned business. It'll be 10 years in February next year, so it's quite an awesome milestone. I'm very proud of that. And we serve nationwide as well. So I've born in Samoa. I moved here when I was young. Went to school in Auckland and that. Didn't really have a sort of, I suppose, a goal to go to university and stuff like that. That sort of mindset of just go get a job and pretty much work in a factory all your life and stuff like that. I guess for me is you talk about running uphill and stuff like that, but there was a time when I felt like I was running, I was running on quicksand or running down the hill. That's when I was living with my uncle, with my two young boys at the time. And I guess, working in a factory job, you kind of struggle to make ends meet and stuff like that. And I guess for me is wanting to do better and be a good role model for my kids, And, I guess living with your uncle was sort of embarrassing, one of the lowest point in my life, and I guess yeah, that's when I realized, I've got to do something, do something to show my boys that you can't just be stuck in working in a factory and living with your uncle. You got to do better and show them example. So it wasn't long after while I was living, I met my beautiful wife now, Andrea, and I've got to credit a lot for myself as a man and as a business as well. So when I met her, I was in the cross path trying to find something to sort of get ahead in life, and so when I met her, I had some ideas. I wanted to be a police officer, and I said to her that I really want to be a cop, but I can't really swim. I'm not a confident swimmer. So she basically told me, stop wasting your time. What else are you passionate about? So I said to her, I do security over the weekends, part time. I really enjoy it. It's a bit of a social outing, and I really enjoy it. So that gave me an idea to maybe, hey, how about I worked for a mate for over 10 years, as his head doorman and stuff like that. So I thought, why not, start my own security, business, So so one day I went up to St. Luke's, where our family print their teas and their tops, and I told the guy there, can you please put a W with Wulf Security around it? And so he got his mouse out and he just did his thing, and then and that's how the Wulf Security logo has been was found, And even when we try to see the expo, see if we can rebrand it, and he said no, I wouldn't change it for the word because it's solid, it's basic. I had no idea at the time. I was just, I guess, just going with the flow, so to speak. So with the encouragement of my wife, Andrea, I just managed to run with this idea of, so so basically working in a factory and then go have some meetings, put on my suit jacket, whatever I had to look like, formal, then come back and put on my shorts and, steel cap shoes working in the factory. So I guess it was a bit of a juggling act at the time,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy, but I guess once I managed to find the right networking and the right people, they say, and that's when it kind of the business sort of took off, and yeah, so you know now it's almost 10 years, we've probably employed over 100 people over that time, which I'm really happy and grateful about. And one of the best thing about it is that majority of my workers are Pacific Islanders like myself, like come from nothing, and to be able to provide jobs for them so that they can put a roof over their head for their family, it's very rewarding for myself.
Yeah.
Not just that, but I guess for me is as the years go by, I was kind of like, no, I'm not a business guy. I've got no business degree. I feel kind of awkward by now. I just realized that I have to try and inspire the next generation or even Pacific Island people to realize that you don't have to be, the guy that's working for someone else. You can't be, a business owner, and I guess in a way I'm the living proof of that, I've had business almost 10 years. Yeah, so it's a very blessing and humble experience, Tish. Yeah, so yeah, I guess in right now, we've just moved to a beautiful new office. I guess it's all about growth and leveling up. And I've got an amazing team. As I said, my wife Andrea, who's the general manager, and I've also got my right hand man, Graham, who's my head of digital and operations. So without those two, and to be honest, they actually make me look good. I mean, I'm like the face of the company in a way, but I guess once Andrew came on board a couple of years ago as the GM, things just seems to run smoothly, and she's with her and Graham by my side, we managed to level up and take the business to like to the next, because obviously with me, I'm not having a kind of like a business sort of training and background. I was just learning as I go. It was more hands-on, but having those two with their background experience, it's a great team, and I'm really blessed to have those two by our side. So yeah. Um,
Amazing.
another thing I want to make note is, as you can see, I'm wearing pink polo. So
Yeah.
it wasn't long after we started the business that seeing around town, you always see people wearing black. It's quite intimidating for security. So we thought, how about wear pink? It's less intimidating. And people sort of relate to it. It's not as I said, intimidating. So that's a point of difference for us. All our corporate and people that work in the bars, they all wear pink, and that's what we're sort of known for. Um, so yeah, it's good to be able to have these different things to stand out from the rest. Different point of view. So yeah. Um, so that's basically, yeah. So I'm here. I'm
I
setting
I
a
love
talk.
I love that, Pat. I love that, Pat. There's so much there to unpack because you've just basically given us so much there. I want to, if you don't mind, I want to go right back to the start, and I want to talk about what you mentioned at the start, the mindset of going to work in a factory. Where does that mindset come from? And I asked that question because you as we listen to this podcast, people will go, "Ah, this is the mindset I have got because X, Y, Z." If you can think about that, where did that idea come for you? Because you said I went to school. University wasn't my jam. Factory was the way I want to go. Where did that thinking come from?
Yeah, I guess unfortunately, a lot of Pacific Island families, it's almost like they encourage them just to get a job, and then help them pay the rent. Just it doesn't matter if it's minimum wage. There's no. I'm not saying all, but majority of them I know from my experience and what I see is that they encourage them to go and get a job, and then they fall into the trap, which I have. Go hire purchase a WRX, like a sports car,
Yeah.
thinking you own it. In actual fact, the bank owns it. You know what I mean. So yeah. So I guess it's that whole mindset of just getting a job, and I was caught up in that for a very long time, and not knowing what I realized now as a business owner, and what I encourage my family and friends and people that I know is that if you go to uni and get a degree, or some sort of study or profession, you'll be able to buy the house instead of paying someone else's rent. Yeah. So it's got a different mindset that after coming out of it and being on the other side, I feel like there should be a lot more education around, especially Pacific Islander, to break away from the cycle of just going day by day, everyday life, and that they're never going to own a home, they're never going to be a business owner, run a business because it's too scary. But like for me, as I said, with the help of my wife, I just ran with the idea, whether it was right or wrong. I just gave it a go, and luckily, you know, with the man above helping me out, I managed to get where I am now. So I'm very humble and blessed to be, there's still a lot of work ahead. I'm not saying I'm there, but right now, we're heading the right way. As you said, climbing the hill, we're going the right direction instead of running the opposite or sideways. So yeah, so I guess working in the factory, even I guess I remember thinking to myself, I always want to have a business card, like so when people ask me, yeah, people ask me, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a logistic manager. But in actual fact, he's just a warehouse bum boy, sitting at the back counting, stock and stuff like that. So now when I actually got the business card, I just, pinch myself thinking, man, I remember sitting in the factory, and now and then I actually go visit them, and they're like, wow, I'm so proud of where you are, because I always remember where I come from, so I go back and visit the guys, some of them still in the warehouse, and tell them about my journey, how I'm very blessed to be where I am at the, today. So yeah, just thinking back about those hard, 6 a.m. starts, we could get up at 5:30. Oh, I tell you what, I don't miss it, but it's a bit of hard work to get where I am, because I remember, before I met my wife, staying with my uncle, I used to drop my kids off to my nana's, to my auntie's place, look after while I go and work at the bar. So it wasn't easy, like, so yeah, so I guess for me is I feel like I've done, a bit of hard work to get where I am. It wasn't like sort of handed to me, but there's still a lot of hard work ahead, as I said, to maintain and get that growth and
Yeah,
level up that we're looking as a business. So yeah,
yeah. I love that. And the reason I went back there is because people see you today and they go, oh, what a successful person. But it's the mindset shift, because as you said, a lot of and I'm gonna generalize here, a lot of Pacific Islanders, a lot of, Maori Pacifica, people that come from low socioeconomic places have the mindset of we're just gonna find a job and work. And
yeah,
I think about rural New Zealand and people want to go work in the meat factories or the factories because that's easy and what generations have done because it's
yeah,
easy to put money on. But what I've loved about what you just said there, you had to shift your mindset. You had to change the whole mindset, which is a lot of work, because it would have been so easy for you to just carry on doing what you're doing because that's the way the world is. But as you said before, there was two things that happened in your world that changed for you. That was the fact that you had two boys, and the fact that you met Andrea at a certain point in time. And
yeah.
as you think about that right now, those are probably two pivotal moments in your life where you knew, okay, I have to shift my mindset because I didn't want this for my boys.
Yeah, well, no, 100%. And I guess, I tell people this, that I'm still, to this day, I don't understand why, she was a successful businesswoman climbing the corporate ladder, stuff like that. And here I am, a solid dad living with my two kids in the room, and she could have just chosen anybody, but, so she was already in her own way successful, in the business sense, but for me, I guess it all worked out well. Maybe she knew something that other people didn't know, including myself. Like we're really happy where we are. But yeah, sometimes I still, the way things sort of come about it,
Yeah,
so, but yeah, that mindset. I guess people talk about, if you want to be successful, you surround yourself with successful people. You hang
yeah,
out with business people, you're going to end up being business minded. If you end up with gang members,
yeah,
there's a good chance you're going to end up, you know what I mean? So I honestly believe that, I'm really lucky and blessed. I've got a lot of mates that play rugby with or I met through the years that I've got their own business, and they give me advice, and vice versa if we're able to help each other. So I honestly believe that they're saying it, you actually surround yourselves around, those sort of good people,
yeah.
and good things will happen to you. So yeah, I guess they're saying it's 100% true. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and what I love about that, there's two things that you said, when you surround yourself with people, whatever they do, you become. Whether it's becoming a gang or whether it's being successful, it just happens, right? It just happens by osmosis. But also the fact that Andrea saw something in you, it reminds us that sometimes you don't have to have the whole world believing in you. You just need one person to believe in you. And I think this is a clear
oh
indication in your world where I'm assuming that there would have been lots of people in your world that have said, Pat, what are you doing? You've got a great secure job here. Why are you
yeah,
doing this here?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, no. As I said, yeah, she just allowed me to be myself, and I guess for me, I was self-doubting, oh, I can't do this. But she just said to me, look, give it a go. If it doesn't work out, then, look, I'm already climbing the career ladder. We can fall back to that. Luckily, we didn't have to. But I guess my point is that, yeah, it's amazing how if you have someone that believes in you and things will just happen. Like in my case, I don't have a business degree, as I said before, but just having someone by my side that say, look, just do it, and luckily it kind of fell into place, meet the right people, networking. And now some of the people that like my first ever construction business 9 years ago for Hawkins, I'm still mates with some of the guys that work on the job, play golf with them, which I love. So yeah, it's about keeping those relationships, and luckily for me, it's the right people, like the people that are kind of like that make decisions about who to give the job to, stuff like that. So I'm really blessed to be able to network with those type of people, and yeah, so I think that's the key to our business doing well too, is having the right connections. And as I said, like with Graham and Angel, we've got a great team that help us, with social media, sponsoring, like, I don't know if you noticed, but we sponsor ARL. Auckland Rugby League, so that's quite massive, you know.
Yeah.
And just I think a week after, I think I told the team this, you know,
Yeah.
I had to do a presentation in front of it was around 250 people, you know, at the Warriors headquarters, you know. So that was, but to be honest, if I didn't do that course, there's no way I would have said yes to it, you know, if I didn't, you know, all those tips and it really helped. And I guess, you know, I was feeling really scared to be honest, you know, going there. But then once I got there and I saw my banners on either side, and this is like you had NRL coaches, you know, some women's NRL players there. I was like, hold up, this is my house in a way, you know, the mindset, like, look,
Yeah.
why should I be shy? This is about, you know, this is about Wulf Security because we are the major sponsors. And it didn't really hit home until the coach of the Wahinas, the Warriors women's team, got up there and actually personally thanked me. Personally thanked me. He said, "Thank you, Pat and Wulf Security, for without you guys, this event wouldn't have happened." And I was like, you know, and they all looked at me, and I'm like, actually, you know, he's right there. So that's when I kind of like, man, it just feels so humbling, you know, to go up and tell my story as well. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So things like that. I mean, you know, just falls into place, and yeah,
Yeah.
just living the dream, to be honest, bro. You know,
I love it. I love it.
very,
I love it. And I'm gonna talk about something. You used the word luck quite a bit there, but I'm gonna challenge you on that there because recently I heard about there's four kinds of luck. There's blind luck, which is the luck you're born into a family or you're born into a place. And then there's a luck called luck of motion, luck of awareness, and luck of uniqueness. And I think what you have done is you've done the luck of motion. What does that mean? That means that you're going out there doing things, as you said before, you're networking, you're talking to the right people, which means that you're building your own luck because the first luck you can't. That's you were born in Samoa, you have no choice. This is it. Boom. You could have chosen just to live in that world and go, this is it. But you went, actually, wait a minute, I want to change my world. So your luck of motion. Luck of awareness was when Andrea said to you, hey, why don't you give it a crack? Yeah, this is an awareness. Why don't you give it a go? And then your luck of uniqueness is what you're doing right now, which is really, really beautiful. So I've learned recently that when people use the word lucky, I was actually, let's stop for a second and go, wait a minute, you've made the luck happen because you've done all those three things. If you just sat at home, Pat, and you with your uncle and your two boys, none of this would happen, and you know that as well. And I think it would be amazing for you to acknowledge the fact that hey, you've as much as people that helped you in your world, you've done a lot of the self work yourself as well, which is really beautiful to see.
yeah, thank you, brother. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes I tell people oh, a bit of luck, and they say, no, there's no luck in that. It's hard work. And I guess
Yeah,
for me, to be reminded that and you actually stop and think, oh, actually, they do have a good point there because I have put in the hard yards in order
yeah,
to, you know, get a bit of luck, so to speak, you know. So, but yeah, no, that's interesting. I've never even actually heard of that, but that, you know, makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
It's just something I read a few weeks ago, and it really got me thinking about this is actually really true that if we make our own luck by doing all those things there because
yeah,
you've done all the things which you were in the right place. You put yourself in the right place. You made yourself aware and you made yourself unique, which is really, really beautiful. And I want to come back to what you just glossed over in your beautiful opening was when was the moment you said you were working at the factory? When was the moment, that first moment when you went into a boardroom and how did that feel for you? Because here you are, you have this belief in Andrea, you have this dream but the action is always pretty hard. Everyone has dreams. We
yeah,
all have dreams. Everyone has a dream. But
yeah,
that action point when you're like, okay, I've got to wear my suit and go. And what is that like for you? And what is that? Can you take us back maybe to that moment and how you felt?
yeah. I actually do remember. I had a mate who I met through, so I met through another friend of mine. His name's Harley. So he was a site manager for Hawkins Construction Company. So we catch up now and then, and he said to me because he found out that I was starting my own security on the side business, and he said to me, "Hey, Paddy, go and see the project manager Gary, at the job in the city." And I was like, "Oh, true, yep." So at the time I was like, you know, guys work in the factory all his life. Well, what am I going to say or do? So I was like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. I'll give it a crack. So I still remember taking my black suit jacket. I think it was, church, like a tidy jacket. And I remember going. to the place. And as I was going through the room, I was just like so scared because, I'm going to go meet a project manager. And and I remember I was sitting in a boardroom and he's showing me the map of the site and he goes, Pat, so what do you reckon? It's all closed off here and so forth. And I'm like, what's he on about? No, I've just started a security business. I don't have experience. But luckily, something just clicked in me and I just used my common sense. I said, we'll have one here, there, just sort of try and make something up. And then when I got home, I got an email from Hawkins that said Hawkins versus Wulf Security with the amount there. And I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing. So I think it was a week later, I told my warehouse boss, I said, because I always said to him, I'll start this on the side. Once it takes off, I'll probably have to leave. And his name's Colin, real nice guy. And he understood. So yeah, so I had my notice in because I there was enough work there. Like, so most business you get someone to work, but in this case, I had to go and I had to go through the hours because basically that's me. But to be honest, I was more excited the fact that Wulf Security is kind of this is the first real project, like major contract. Yeah, so and then from there, as I said before, I've got four people from the job that are still gone to different construction companies that are still asking me, say, you're the only security business in my thing. So such a blessing. But yeah, so I still remember that time when Gary, who's a Scottish with the accent as well, and he's an island boy and they're standing there with us, fake it to make it. And luckily for me, he kind of listened to what he kind of believed what I was saying. And I think for him, was saying, Harley would have explained to him, oh, his Pat, he just started up his business. So, and he's all about helping the small guys, So, yeah, so that was my first actual construction company. Right now, our business probably consists of 80% construction securities, site security, which is awesome. And it all started from that one job, where I was still in the factory, got changed, came back and told my boss, hey boss, it was looking really good. And then yeah, so I had to resign from there. And the rest they say was history, I just
Yeah.
from there I just used my networking and people that I knew from jobs and that and yeah, and just pivot from there. And yeah, I still can't believe, we're here almost 10 years, 10 years in
Yeah.
Feb. Yeah, it's such a blessing, to be doing what I love doing and then to make a living out of it. And I guess, provide a home for my kids, wife, and as well as the staff, my staff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really satisfying and knowing that, I'm able to provide for myself as well as for other people, especially Pacific Island.
Yeah. I love this story because, two things that really stand out is you had a mate who believed in you because so easily he could have not told you about the job.
Mm,
And the fact that also the person at Hawkins, the project manager, gave you time of day to have the chat. And I think this
yeah,
is where we go back to thinking about, sometimes at the right place, the right time, and the right people, and things happen. And
yeah.
the universe works in interesting ways.
Oh,
And also yourself, you could have said no. You could have said no, but as you said before, I've got nothing to lose.
yeah,
What happens? They
exactly.
say no, I come back to what I've always had.
So, yeah, come back to counting the nails and put it in the
Yeah,
bags. And
yeah,
it's funny because the guy, Harley, my mate, that actually referred me. I rang him probably a couple of weeks ago because I still remember, I'm saying, look, bro, how's things checking up? And I still remind him, if it wasn't for you, like, and he goes, nah, all good, bro. And I was like, no, no, honestly, you're the one that gave me the breakthrough. If it wasn't for your connection, I honestly don't think the business would have be where it is now. So
yeah,
yeah, so I still remember people that helped me along the way, so I will reach out to him, for our 10-year anniversary if he's available to come because he's an important part of this
yeah,
whole 10-year journey. Yeah, funny enough, the project manager, the Scottish guy, Gary Nisbet, I actually played golf for him like 3 weeks ago. He's with another company,
yeah,
but we speak about, I even remind him, remember that time I came in with, started the business, had no idea what I was talking about, and he's just joked around. And so yeah, so it's really awesome to be able to connect with those people and have a life outside of just work. So
yeah.
yeah, um,
And that's a great segue now into what I guess my next question is. You work so hard, you do all these amazing things. How do you look after Pat? You've got your family. How do you balance all this? Because running a business we spoke on the phone yesterday, and it gives you freedom and it gives you stuff, but it was also a lot of hard work. Um, but how do you look after yourself? What are your things that you do,
If you
Pat?
ask my wife, she'll probably say golf,
Yeah,
which is probably the truth because just recently, sorry, we've just I managed to do a contract deal with my local golf club, and then
yeah,
so therefore I'm able to take clients in there. So, but my wife was already letting me play golf once a week, because that's like, as you said, asked me that's my outlet, that's
yeah,
let all my frustration out. Some of my mates reckons the only time they hear Pat swear is on the golf course because, I just let it out, which is, it's good, that, yeah, I actually, my wife even says, it's good for you to go play golf because you don't feel as tense, but yeah,
yeah,
I love playing golf, fishing as well in summer. I mean, when the weather's good, and I guess hanging out with my kids. I've got four beautiful kids. All have their different needs in there. Sports and so forth. So, but yeah, outside the busy, yeah, I guess for me, is playing golf is my way of, um, yeah, relaxing and sort of, yeah,
yeah. And
as well
and,
as.
and I ask the question because a lot of people think that you have to hustle all the time and not have some downtime. But for you to be the best that you can be in whatever situation, you need to have that outlet. And for you, it's golf. And I use the word outlet in inverted commas, but it's actually you have fun doing it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So, and it's a lot of networking happening as well. So I'm doing what I
Yeah,
love doing, and there's potential to, and that's why, you know, Andrea allowed me to go in and play golf because you can actually network, and there's some like leads, that comes out of it. So, but then now with the deal of golf, the golf club, it's even better. I can bring potential clients, current ones, and yeah, so it's a win-win all around.
amazing,
So it's all
amazing.
it's all connected to personal hobby as well as business because it's
Yeah,
all kind of connects. So yeah,
and it all connects to the person, right? It connects to the human that is pet.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's right.
yeah. And I'm gonna talking about running uphill. You spoke about this before. Is around the world, everywhere you go, anywhere you see security, it's always black. And you chose to run uphill and go pink. And do you want to tell us, our listeners, why you chose pink specifically? You could have chosen any color. You could have just stuck to status quo. What is it for you that went, actually, I want to choose this color here?
Yeah, so I guess one of the ideas or how it came about Pink was that one of our first contract, which we currently still have, is Holy Moly, the mini golf. People know in the city. So for the record, that's our national contract. So we look after Wellington and Christchurch as well. So yeah, so in those venues, they wear like the managers wears red polo. The staff wear green, and then I think training managers orange. So that's how the idea came about. Hey, how about we wear pink because it doesn't clash with them, but more importantly, it's not intimidating. Because as
Yeah,
I said before, how many people go to town and you see some big island guys standing there all wearing black or and sometimes it can be a bit intimidating, And if you go to remove someone, you look over, they're all wearing black. It's kind of like, whereas if someone's wearing pink, it's kind of like it's less intimidating, and people kind of, yeah, they don't, in my opinion, they don't feel threatened by it, and,
yeah,
and I guess it's a point of difference for us as well. But the main reason being is yeah, it's less intimidating, color for people, so it's black. So yeah, I guess that was the main reason why we chose pink to run uphill with pink. So yeah, a lot
yeah,
of people commented, like even the police in the city, they said, "Oh, I love the idea and the initiative to wear pink, because you don't really see many security firms in the city wearing pink,
yeah,
it's mainly black, so
yeah.
that's why we're quite proud of us, being known as the team wearing pink."
Yeah, and it's again, it's running uphill, right? Running uphill. You could have so easily just conform to whatever else is doing. And I agree with you, when you see someone wearing pink, immediately just de-escalates the situation straight away. For some
Oh,
reason, it just makes it makes you go, okay, cool,
yeah,
I'm just gonna calm down.
yeah, for sure. And I guess to add to the pink as well, I hire a lot of female guards as well.
Yes, yep,
Most firms they just wear, I mean, they just hire male guards, but with female guards, whether they're wearing pink or black, I feel like a lot of people can relate to them. Everyone's got a sister, mom, like that. So straight away, even if a guy's being aggressive and if a female generally talks to them, they usually calm down because their natural instinct of, oh, look, it's my mom or sister, and I guess that's why for me a lot of my even some of my venues I have women as my head doorman instead of a guy because they'll be able to de-escalate and handle the situation. Generally, it's more people will relate to it better.
yeah,
React, yeah, they'll be more inclined to listen and calm down rather than if it's a male, they tend to sort of not, not as cooperate with them in a way. So yeah,
yeah. And
so
it's
it's good
really,
to have that point of difference in that pink, having more female guys because there's not many. I think there's a stat around that it's only like 30% of security in Auckland, made up of female guys, which is way low. That number needs to increase. And, like, especially if there's a conflict, you'll need a female sometime to attend the situation rather than having a male come in and then it kind of escalates everything else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so that's what we're trying to do anyway, hire more female guards. So,
yeah. And I
yeah,
think what I love about that again, it's how how it takes it breaks the stereotype that security can only be for males that are a certain criteria, certain age, certain demographic. Where you go actually, wait, it can be. This is something that anyone can do if they meet the other, whatever
yeah,
else you're looking for.
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is really beautiful. And Pat, I want to touch base on as Pat thinks about Pat today, and Pat looks at himself, 13 years ago, not even 10, 13 years ago. And if someone had said to Pat 13 years ago, hey, in 2025, you'd be running a successful security business, what would you have said to that person?
To be honest, I would have said, yeah, you'll be dreaming, or I'll laugh at them. I'm being honest, because as you said back then, my mindset was just all about surviving. Was all about just day to day, go, work in the factory, come home, feed your kids, and see what the next day brings you, rather than kind of looking at the long game. Looking like further than yeah, they're just looking what's in front of you. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? So yeah, if someone did ask me there, like even myself, even now, to be honest, like even I'm still pinching myself of what myself and my wife and the families managed to achieve through the business. I mean, through it's just as I said, I'm even now I'm still can't believe it. I have to remind myself I'm actually the business. I'm a businessman rather than just a guy that's started a business and hoping for the best. But yeah, I mean, it's always good to look back in your journey and see how far you've come. But as I said, it's yeah. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to realize, I am, you know, where I am through sort of hard work.
yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
And and we speak about the business, we speak about that, which is the hardest stuff. But what is the hardest thing for Pat as a person to get through? Because you've had to face so many inner demons and inner conversations. Is there one particular one that you really had to battle to get to, you know, and you must still have that battle today, but is there, because you spoke about the mindset, breaking the molds, doing all the things that the whole world is saying, don't do this, don't do this, and
Mm.
also yourself, the imposter syndrome, am I the right person? Is there one thing that just really stands out for you, something you just had to really overcome to get to where you are today?
I guess if there was something which I'm still working on, I guess running a business is I suppose is my communication and what's the word? I suppose getting stuff done on time, and I guess my wife will speak, about this, but yeah, I guess sometimes I'll say I'll do something and then, but I don't end up almost over promising sort of thing, so I've got to
Yeah.
learn to balance that and say, I'll, for example, like I'll get you, if someone emails me, I want this, instead of saying I'll get it to you on Friday, I'll say I'll get it to you tomorrow. And I guess, that's something that I need to work on, especially with my team, because then it puts pressure on them. So I guess, yeah, I've always found that hard, but I'm still learning. But I guess it's just finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just that organization, and I guess speaking as well. That's why I came and did the speakers course. I mean, I'm still terrible now, but not as bad. Like speaking to people in front of people. So that's something that I had to go get help for, and I feel like there's definitely help. It can be better, but I've come a long way from since meeting you at the speakers course and that. So yeah,
Yeah. And I guess, both of those things are really hard because, the first one is, as you said before, this is still you still pinch yourself. And when someone says, "Hey, this is an opportunity," the inner you or the child you is going, "Yep, I'm just going to say yes because what if it goes away? What if it goes away?" It's that inner, "Oh, I just got to say yes, otherwise what if I lose opportunity right now?" It's a journey,
100%.
as you said. So and it's beautiful that you're aware of it and you're people around it. And the speaking thing is, I mean, we're all on a different path of the journey. And I tell listeners out there, I still remember seeing Pat on day one, and Pat wouldn't be on this podcast today if we had Pat if we saw Pat on day one. So, as you say, you're still not a good speaker. I disagree with that. I think you've grown exponentially within 6 months. That's a great acknowledgement there.
Yeah, on the first day, I remember it was freezing, and everyone started clapping. I was like, I can't do this. But yeah, I guess with a bit of encouragement from the tutors and the team around, it just makes you feel more confident, and that's what's all about it. I remember meeting I forgot his name, the professor, so the one that the lecturer, at uni,
Yeah,
and I said to him, oh, I thought, oh, maybe he's coming here as a special guest or whatever, and he said, no, no, I'm here for the course, and that's when I realized, damn, that's yeah, it just blew my mind that I had someone who speaks for, in front of so many people for a living, and yet he's there to, I suppose, master uh, perfect his craft, so to speak. So yeah, that was quite interesting. Even yourself, when I was talking to you, I was like, you don't need to be here. you, I mean, but yeah, I guess everyone has different reasons for doing it. For me, it was
yeah,
to be able to be more confident, speaking to my team, rather than not being able to be heard, like when you're speaking, stuff like that. So yeah, it's all about confidence, and I feel like I got that out of it. So
yeah. And talking about the compliment, 100% confidence is pretty amazing. Um, but talking about confidence as well, now you think about what you said before is giving back to the Pacific community because this is a community come from, which is really powerful too, going back to the factory and talking to people that see you. Now that you see yourself where you were, do you feel that you have the confidence now to go, actually, hey, you guys, you can break the way you're thinking because I have made it and I have made it because I've changed my whole world. Do you now see yourself as someone that could be a role model to our young Pacifica males out there? And I choose young Pacifica males on purpose because we know, I mean, I work in education and I know young Pacifica females is really just they just go hundreds and they
yeah,
do things.
that's right.
Whereas
Yeah,
young Pacifica males really struggle. I have a mentee at the moment that I'm working with who's a young Pacifica male. He's very dedicated. He goes to Kelton Boys. He's really awesome. But he
yeah,
always tells me about his friends who are just they've already said they're in year 13 and next year they're going to work in a factory. They're going to go to that. And he challenges them all the time. But as you see yourself and you go, hey, wait a minute, I can shift the narrative. How do you see
yeah,
yourself in not in a way of this a pedestal, but actually this is something that you're a lived experience of someone that's gone through that whole journey.
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. It's funny you said that because, as I said, when people mention like, oh, you're a great role model and you're, business leader, at first I'm like, nah, I'm not that. But then when I stop and think about it, and now, if I get an opportunity to speak to like, let's say a school or, especially Pacific Islander, that I feel confident and proud that I actually can tell them, look, anything's possible. Where I come from, I did it the hard way. and a bit of hard work and a bit of luck, I've got where I am. But to make it easier for yourself, like to actually, encourage them to go study, go to uni rather than, as I said, that their cycle of go get a factory job, high purchase of sports car, and then you end up, that cycle that never, unless it's broken by, someone, it's just going to keep repeating itself in a generation to generation. So I guess, yeah, another good example is I was in Porirua a couple of months ago for it's like a conference, like a Porirua Council where all the business people were there,
Yeah.
and I met a young island couple who's just started their landscaping business, and I was talking to them and I explained my story, and honestly, like the look on their face, like, oh man, that's so awesome. They even asked me, oh, do you mind if we give you a call, for some advice? And I almost got emotional because I was like, oh, man, this is, I guess, people, looking up, like just telling my story, and I guess them, inspired, you can just see it in their face, and it made me like quite emotional, kind of like, hang on, yeah. And I gave him my number, and he actually called me the other day to say, how's things going? And I said, look, if you ever need any advice, I mean, I don't know much, but whatever I can do to help with, whether, like accounting side of, running a business, just the standard, like basic stuff. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. They said, oh, we really want to, your inspiration and stuff like that. But for me, my point wasn't to try and make them go, wow. It's just more like I was naturally, seeing a Pacific Island couple like trying to go on their own and succeed. It's like, man, for me, that was just quite inspiring. So I told them my story. Excuse me. Yeah, and then yeah, so those sort of things, like they weren't young, but they were still like new to the
Yeah.
game, and for them to be inspired by my story, it made me kind of feel like, damn, that's what I need to do more of, whether speaking, to people, like on conference or something like that, where I can say to them, look, yeah, you can do it, like doesn't matter what background you have, just gotta just find something that you're passionate about and just give it a go, because what's worse than not giving it a go, you will still be in the same spot, the
Yeah.
place on the hill that you're running up, you're not going to be going anywhere, you'll be static for the rest of your life. So yeah, so that was a really humbling experience for me, to see a couple who, especially Pacific Islander, starting a business and be inspired by my story, so wow, that was quite a, yeah, it was a great experience for me. It was quite satisfying knowing that I've managed to sort of inspire them to say, look, if this guy's almost 10 years, why can't we get to that? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so those are the sort of things that I guess, not by chance, but I feel like, yeah, it's just running a business. It all comes with the territory, some good,
Yeah.
some bad. But in this case, it was a really positive thing in my from my perspective, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I love that because it's in those you don't go seeking it. It you just when you're yourself, your own self, and you
yeah,
share your story, you'd have no idea who
mm,
you inspire. I remember when I was teaching at university and my mentor said to me, there'll be one word that you'll say, one sentence that you'll say that one young person in the room will hear and be inspired by or not inspired by. So, when you
yeah,
speak your story, people out there will hear and go, oh, this is inspirational. Because the one thing that I really like about what you said, Pat, is nowhere in this whole story have you said it's been easy. It's been hard. And life is a roller coaster and it's very easy for anybody in any business to go, this is way too hard, I'm throwing the towel in. But you've got to get to the
mm,
hard, the hard yards to enjoy the golf
yeah,
rides.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, you put in the hard yards, and then sometimes I get some of my staff come around and go, "Oh, it must be nice to have this and that." But then I think to myself, well, I work hard to get where I am, so they're saying, you gotta still put in the hard yards, to achieve what you want. Nothing's handed to you on the plate. So
Yeah.
yeah, um,
And you think about all the successful people, they all work hard. There's no successful person that just
yeah,
sits and does nothing.
amazing.
Everybody all work hard. And I think about Sam, who was at the, Sam, from Speakers
Yeah,
Institute, and I see the hard work that he does. I'm like, whoa, he could have so easily just sit down and just made
exactly.
he's made his millions, but
Yeah,
no, on the road,
obviously.
doing the hard work, which is
Inspiring his story
fantastic.
for him.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, which is
100%, And that's why I ended up coming to the course because I don't know if I told you, but we originally were just going to go there, check it out, and then leave halfway because, I'll just, not halfway, but we went 100% keen. But I was so drawn by Sam's story, I actually told my wife and Graham, oh, I'll Uber home, you guys go home. And they're like, are you sure? And I actually signed up, got up, met Sam, and I got emotional, started crying, and he's like, "It's all right, I can feel your energy." I was like, "How embarrassing was that?" But I suppose my point being, I got inspired by his story, where he came from, and I guess for me is I can relate to that. I'm
yeah,
from my factory job to changing my mindset to start a business. That's the connection I had with Sam, and I guess that's why I'm so glad I did it. I mean, it took me a long time, almost a year, to keep pulling it back because I was too scared and too, yeah, didn't want to do it. But then I had to do it because I already paid for it. So my wife's like, "Yeah, I'll get a refund, or you go do it." I was like, "Okay, I'll go do it," and that's why I got to meet all of these. And yeah, so it
yeah,
was an awesome experience. And people ask me, "What was it like?" And I said, it was the hardest and most rewarding experience of my life. And it's true. It was so hard, trying to speak in front of, I know it wasn't a big audience, but it was just real daunting. But at the end of it, we all managed to, even was it James,
James, yeah.
he was so quiet, even him. And so it's so inspiring. Everyone's got their own story. So I'm glad that I was part of that experience and journey with all of you. So
Yeah, it's really cool. And this is why we have this podcast as well, because as you said, people get inspired. People follow people, and someone's going to hear something you've said today, and they're going to get inspired by or not. Right? It doesn't actually matter. But your story is your story, and no one can take it away from you. This is your story.
yeah,
This is
oh,
it.
for sure.
Yeah. And I haven't lived Pat's story, and no one else will ever live Pat's story ever. But it's your
Yeah.
story to share with the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what Sam told us. Say we all have a story, and
Yeah.
you are your story. And
Yeah.
I have to remind myself, my story is, where it's the reason why I'm here. So
That's
thank
right.
you. No,
That's right.
that's it.
Pat,
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation, and before we close, we have a tradition. Unless there's something else you want to add, is there anything else you'd like to add that I haven't covered that you want to share? Um,
Uh, no, that's yeah. No, thank you for the opportunity. As I said, like that's pretty much my story. I know I went sort of all over the show, but I appreciate you having the questions to sort of keep me on track. But yeah, I guess for me, it's just really inspiring to be able to have a chat with you like this and tell my story because, as you said, there could be someone out there that might, inspired by it, and that's what I feel like. Yeah, it's a great rewarding thing for me to run a business and be able to inspire other people to just have their own story, with a different to mine. But now, thank you,
good.
Katisha,
No
for
worries. No worries.
yeah.
I have two more questions for you, Pat. Question number one is an easy one. The first question is, if anybody wants to reach out to you and either talk to you about your security service or your story, what's the best way they can do that?
Yep, just through our website. Is it on there? No, it's not. No, it's www.wolfsecurity.co.nz, and we're on like Instagram as well, and um, Facebook and TikTok. Wolf Security, yeah. Just email through on the website. It's got the email where if you're inquiring about whether looking for a job or even looking for security, someone to provide security, whether it's corporate, construction, anything like that. Yeah, so you can find us on our website.
Yeah, and on TikTok we'll see Pat dancing. Just remember that Pat's on the
Oh,
TikTok
so
doing his
they
great
forced me to
dances.
do it, but for the record, I don't want to do it, but they're like, okay, yeah. I was like, yeah. No, thanks.
We'll have a million views on there, guys, within 5 minutes. So jump on there. The second question I
Probably.
have for you, the second question I have for you, Pat, is it's a tradition we have on our podcast. Our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge, and
Yeah.
every guest that we have on, we invite them to share some piece of knowledge to put into our basket. You've shared so much in today's story, but is there any piece of knowledge that you can share with our basket for myself, for listeners that that you live your life by, I guess.
Um, yeah, I guess uh, advice is, I guess, is just don't don't doubt yourself. Like if you decide to give something a go, like just don't be afraid to give it a go, because you'll be it doesn't come off, you'll be in the same position. If it comes off, you'll be ahead of where you were before. So I guess don't be afraid to give things a go. Because if it does come off, you'll be better off. If you don't give it a go, you'll still be in the same spot. So, and I guess in my case, I gave it a go, and luckily, it's kind of panned out for me at the moment. And yeah, so I guess that's yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And there was two there. There were two there. Number one was don't doubt yourself, because I think a lot of us doubt ourselves. And that's the biggest thing. Like you said before, if you have the doubt, it's never going to work out. And the second one is give it a crack. Even if you give it a crack and you fail, you'll still be far ahead if you didn't give it a crack, like you said.
Yeah.
And if it works out, hey, you're far ahead. So don't doubt yourself and give it a crack. What a great piece of knowledge to put into our
Yes,
basket. Thank you.
that's what happened with me. I gave it a crack, and I'm
Yeah.
a little bit ahead than when I was,
I
10
think a
years
lot
ago.
ahead, a
So,
lot ahead, not a little bit, a lot ahead.
no,
A lot ahead. Pat, beautiful. Thank you so much for spending time today. For our listeners out there,
no,
Pat is
thank
actually
you.
sitting in his office at 9 o'clock at night during this podcast. So really, really
Mm.
appreciate his time today. For our listeners, hopefully you have enjoyed listening to today's podcast. We've had
No,
someone on
I
here
have.
shared. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate the opportunity, and I love your work, and keep it up, man. As I said, yeah, it can only get bigger what you're doing. Basket of knowledge. So thank you, brother,
No
and
worries.
we'll
Thank you,
catch up
Pat.
soon for coffee. Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you,
Sounds good.
man. Appreciate
No
it.
worries.
Okay,
No
take care.
worries. Take care.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.